Almost forgot to record, so I'm going to share my screen again. Alrighty, there we are. Okay, so yeah, Canva Crash Course. Obviously, in an hour, we're not going to go very in a lot of detail, but it'll give you enough to get started and to start creating something, and mostly to get your head around why it's actually a good idea to even use the tool. And also, obviously, I'm geeky, so I have fiddled around and tried alternatives, and basically the concept is always the same, right? So maybe the options are somewhere in a little bit of a different place, but at the end of the day, the way it works is always the same. So once if you get your head around Canva, you could use all the others as well. So okay. Hang on a second, see whether there we go. So now, why would you even bother, right? Well, the thing is, a picture says 1,000 words, and especially on social media, LinkedIn perhaps being a bit of an exception, because at the moment, LinkedIn seems to be favoring posts without images, but Facebook, Instagram, well, Instagram, you can't even have a post without an image, but especially Facebook, if your post has an image, it'll be seen by more people because Facebook will show it to more people. And the other thing, there's even a word for it now. It's called scroll stoppable content, scroll stopping content. People scroll on their phones, right? So, and an image is something that will, the purpose of it is to catch people's attention so that they actually stop scrolling and even have a look at your post. Now, and it isn't just for Facebook posts or Instagram posts. It's you use it to create your profile banners on your Facebook profile, on your LinkedIn profile, anywhere where you have a profile where you have the a sort of whatever image. If you have a Facebook group, if you have a Facebook page, every time you need a profile or a banner image, and you can use Canva to make that appealing and make it communicate what you want to communicate. You can use it to design your business cards. You can use it to design flyers that you then send to Vistaprint or whoever and to actually get printed. So anytime you need something designed, you can use Canva to produce something that looks good without you having to do a graphic design degree. So it definitely, and especially when you see how easy it actually is to create something that looks good, I think you will agree with me. That's basically my theory. If you don't, let me know. Now, why Canva? It's actually funny because when I promoted the event, when I posted the event the other day, somebody actually responded and said, oh, I don't really like Canva, I prefer Stencil, and somebody else will say, I prefer whatever. And true, it's you might want to try out other options. The reason I like Canva is because it has by far the most generous free plan. And I've been using Canva for quite a while now, and I only upgraded to the paid plan in December when they had a promotion, and I haven't gone back because I really like it. But you can get by with a free plan, and you literally they don't have a download limit, which everybody else seems to have, especially the two most popular alternatives, that's Snapper and Stencil. And they both have download limits on the free plan. You can do everything, but you can only download, I think, 10 images a month, which it got me into trouble really quickly, because if you make a few updates, you download it and you think, oh, actually, the photo covers some of the writing, it doesn't really look the way you thought. Then you go back and you make a couple of changes, literally the 10 image download a month is really just to try it out. It's not, you're going to hit the limit for the free plan like really quickly if you use it for your social media posts or banner images or any of that.
Yeah.
So now both of those have one bit of functionality that I really, really like, and that is for, and we'll get to that, how that plays out. They, like when you look at Facebook profile, or like in the worst case, YouTube channel art, the picture that you use for your YouTube channel, there's always areas on that image that aren't shown on mobile, or that only visible on mobile but not on desktop. Then there's areas where the profile picture goes that are actually covered, and that changes. So to know which areas will actually be visible on all devices, sometimes that's not that easy to figure out. And both Snapper and Stencil actually have little overlays that you can use, which is quite helpful, and that's the only thing Canva doesn't have. So we can have a look at that at some point, like if we get time. Now I'm going to make this presentation available as a PDF download, so you can, because here I found an article that has Canva alternatives, and there's 20 of them. So if you want to play around with other tools, you can check out that list and find something you like. But yeah, so the reason, well, you could, I mean, basically Canva does nothing that you couldn't do in Photoshop, right? What it does, it just makes it easy, and it gives you a lot of things already drag and drop ready to go, right? For example, predefined sizes, because now you think, well, okay, I want to do a Facebook post. Do I do it square? Do I do it landscape, horizontal, house, square, whatever? You just say, okay, I want to create a Facebook post, and Canva already knows what the right size for that is. You say, oh, I want to create a Facebook event, and I need a photo for the event cover. You just go Facebook event cover, and it has the correct size for you. So that's really helpful. Now it has templates where there's basically pre-designs that you can use as they are, and you just change your wording and you change it a photo or you don't, and you can really quickly put together something that looks good without you having to do anything. Now, you can also use the templates to figure out how things are done. If you like the look of something, sometimes I look at the templates and use it as inspiration for how, oh, well, that looks really cool. I could do something like that. So they're really, really helpful. The elements is what really differentiates, what really makes Canva, in my book, ahead of everything else, because it has a lot of stuff that you can add on top of whatever background image and text that are really useful, and it's really flexible and easy to use that way. As I said, it's got the unlimited download on the free plan, so you have no limits for how many times or how many images you download. And so yeah, it's basically got lots of simple to use tools that allow you to create something that looks good, like literally in minutes. Now let's have a look. I'm gonna just pop out of that thing, and we'll have a look at share Canva. So now we're actually in here. So yeah, so you need to create an account, but you can even use your Google. You can log in with Google, so you don't even have to mess around. And so basically when you come in, that's what you see. Now, you've got a link to all your designs, template, you don't really need any of that to start with. So what you want to do is you want to create a design. And if you click on that, so immediately you can see here the list of different preset sizes, and it's got all sorts of stuff, even the CD cover and the postcard and anything that's even offline kind of, you can use, like the most common one would probably be like, let's just say a Facebook post. And you can see it opens a new tab, and it already has the correct size here. And now what you've got is on the left, you have, okay, so it basically, you see here on, you've got the little bar here, and every time you click on one, it opens up like a sub menu in this space. So it comes up opening the template. So I quite often sort of scroll through here and think, well, oh, actually I quite like this one. And then you see it's either free, and some, they have this, well, they have certain things that are available for the free plan. And I think there is actually quite a lot there. So you never really, I think, unless you do a lot of social media work or even work for clients or whatever, I don't really see a reason why you'd need the paid plan. It's cool, and I'll show you what you get extra. But I mean, if you look at these, there's all of these are free. So you can just click on those and it'll immediately populate the thing, and then you can click on each of the elements and change your text, right? So this is one idea. That's one way you can do it. Or you can start and build your own, and we're going to do that because it's going to be easier for you to see what on earth we're doing. Now, so what we want is usually, let's say we want to do a Facebook post. So now you usually want some sort of background. And so if you have a background, most cases, you'll want to use some sort of image, right? And there you basically have three options. You can either, they have a background function here. So you click on that, and there are, based on different categories, you can use plain colors. They have abstract, food, textures, flowers, landscape. There's a lot of stuff here that you can use where you just click on it and it'll basically populate it here immediately. And so that's one way to get something onto your screen. Now, another way would be to say, I want an image there, photo. So you have the photo section here, and you can search here for photos, and there will be some, I don't know, just click on something. So you will, and again, it's like you'll see some that are available on the paid plan, and then you see others. There'll be others that you can search for free only. So there'll be some that are available that are free, and then there's others that are paid. And if you don't have the paid plan, you can still, for $1 or something, pay an image. Although I found, well, with the amount of images available on the free plan, I don't think there's ever a need to pay for an image, right? So you can either use this search, or you can upload your own. You can upload any of your own stuff, right? So now, if we have an image here, you can click on it and drag it around and position it. And then you have these handles here where you can just drag it and basically position it on the screen where you want it, right? So we can start, well, kind of like that. Now, so you have an image now. Now, usually you want some text to go with that. Now, what you do is, obviously, you go here, over here, text. And so again, you have the option to just basically click on add a heading, add on any, the only difference here is the formatting, and then you type in so you type your own text, and while that element is selected, you can see up here all the things you can do with it. And that's always the same. Like, it's always like you select an item, and up here you have the menu, the menu that shows the things you can do with the thing. If you click on the text, it'll change because there's other options available. So you can change the font. Again, the ones with a little crown are paid, but there's plenty of fonts around that you don't need to pay for. You've got the size. So you can set the size here, or you can just use the little handle and drag it and make it bigger. You can make here, you basically could say, oh, I want this across the entire screen, and you can make it you could change the alignment. You can change the color. So, and you can either, well, these are the ones that's one thing that comes with the paid plan, that you can actually define your color scheme. But normally you just click on this and you can just pick a color, or even use, if you have the color code from somewhere, or you just pick a color you want, right? And you have all the colors here. So now, as you can see, if I have this on, if I have the text on a background where it's, I can't really see the text well, how can I make this stand out more? That's now where elements come in. Just before we move away from the text, if you're here in the text elements, you have a lot of, again, things that are already, and I quite like to look through those, because obviously these samples here are made by graphic designers. So the fonts they use and the combination of fonts are usually better than what I can come up with. So quite often I use those if I find something like, oh, that actually makes sense for what I want to do. And then just change the text. So you can click on, you can have always more than one element of the same kind. And so again, here you can go in and change your text. You can change the size. It's exactly, you know, the same thing. And we can change the color. Now, if you wanted to have that stand out more, that's where now elements are. And I think elements is really where Canva stands way beyond anything else I've seen, because they have like shapes, for example. You would use a shape and it's just a square, you know, you have here, there's all different other shapes. And so that just pops that gray square on your screen. Now, in position, you can move a shape. It's like all the elements have layers. You have your background image here, you have some text on top. You now put a shape on it, and you can have it on top of the text or underneath the text, and in position there's always the option to move things around. So now in our case, for this square that we want to use to highlight the text, we obviously want that behind the text, but that may not always be the case. So you can put this underneath. It looks pretty ugly still, but you have here the color option, and you say, oh, I want to do it a darker color, but I don't want to have it all that ugly. And here you've got the thing for transparency. So I can click on that and make this sort of semi-transparent. So you can basically use something like that to highlight. And if we make the text now stand out, you can use something like that to highlight the text without totally covering what's underneath. So these elements here, they are really quite useful. And, you know, it doesn't always have to be square. You can use all sorts of other shapes. Now, frames are a really interesting and useful little tool, because what you'll do, it's basically a frame is a placeholder for an image. Now, in this case, we have this now hiding behind the text, and we wouldn't really want that. So we go on position and we bring that forward. So we want that on top. But what you do with a frame is you can have, like this frame is round. Again, there's all different shapes. But what that's really used for, you can take a photo, which is yours or any other photo, and you drag that into this frame here. And now it makes my image round without actually you having to now fiddling around and having to create a round image. You can, you know, double click on it and reposition it and reshape it. And when you're done, you click done. And now you have that image round, and you can basically put it wherever you want it. Now, so you can basically, and now if you don't really have like much of a design eye, that's why I always quite like to look at templates and see how, you know, how they do it. And so you can see what something that you like, and you might want to actually use that as a starting point. But to understand how but it's basically, they do exactly the same thing, but you start off with a design that is probably, you know, that may well be beyond what your design eye would come up with. Now, each element, you can click on it, and then you have to play around a bit with the mouse to you can move it around, but then there's always this little handle here where you can rotate it as well. And that's something you'll see a lot, where all of a sudden you can drag this out and make these bigger, and now you can create effects like that, where you think you have these weird shapes that is usually just a square that is just positioned in, you know, to be sort of covering part of the screen. So it's basically, even if you see this weird shape, it might just be a square or something round. So you can always resize the elements, and you can, you know, rotate them around to have them how you want them. And you've got the position thing. So now another thing that might be helpful is that one of those graphics doesn't always have to be just one page. You can add a new page. You can even duplicate that and play around and make some changes without losing what you've already done. So we can create a new page and say, well, let me try and see whether let me try and start off with a template, you know. So now here you would go and just change your own image. You can change your text, and you see all the elements are here, and you can move them around. Now, there's also the function to move. If you have one and you use the shift key, you select one thing, and with the shift key, you select another item, and you select two, and then you have a function to group them, which means you sort of treat them as one, which is really helpful if you want to move that thing around, but you want to keep them in the same relationship. You don't want to move one and the other to stay there. So you can group and then ungroup again. And if you now have it grouped, any change in size will affect all elements that you've grouped. So you can still play around with that, but you can use it as a starting point. So that quite often makes life a lot easier. And I would actually recommend, if you're not really used to designing stuff, to really start off with those templates. And it doesn't really matter if somebody else somewhere is using something similar, because they base their thing on the same template. So who cares? You know, so I think it's more important to get something, to not spend all your day doing this stuff, right? So you want this as quickly as possible, I think. And the templates are really a great starting point, especially since there are so many that are free, that I'm thinking, well, actually you don't really need so there's no, unless you have a photo that you want to use, that's yours, then I think the templates are always a great starting point. Now, are there any questions so far before I'm gonna go end?
No, I think it's just remembering it all and playing with it, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think you don't really, the only thing you really need to remember is the structure. Like here you've got the main elements, right?
Yeah.
Like video and music, you probably, I never use those. I use uploads. I use background sometimes. I use text and elements all the time. Now elements, there are some, some here, there's stickers. They're kind of cute. The ones I most often use, I mean, grids, I don't use them all that often. You know, if you have like a certain layout that you want, if you look, there's all these different options. And that's often if you want to do a collage with different images. So that's, you know, quite useful, but I don't really use them all that much. What I mostly use are shapes and frames.
Yeah.
And I don't ever use, yeah, gradients can be quite helpful, but that's, yeah, not necessarily lines, all that stuff. I don't know, you can play around with it, you know. It's like, it's just lots of things that you can hand drawn animals. Like I've never used those. You know, we can, you know, we can use a dog. There we go. And you see, you've got the little dog, and if you click on it again, like you can see, you can change the colors. You can make, you know, you can make him a different color, and you can crop and flip and whatever. But so yeah, you can get creative with that. But I think the most important elements, the frames are worth gold, because you can basically, and if you look at all the different ones, you can
Oh gosh.
I mean, that's the thing, is at the end, you're going to have a couple that you like and you use all the time. I like the round one. I don't like to, you know, I don't know. I've tried this. This is kind of cute. Can bring it to front, and you know, so you can, yeah, I mean, this photo isn't ideal for it, but you know, you can basically force a photo into a particular shape, you know. So that's why, and I kind of like frames, because it saves you from having to actually edit the actual photo. You can just use the same square photo and put it in all different shapes without having to really do anything. And so that's why, and in the end, you're going to find the ones, the 3 or 4 that, you know, I've used these ones here. And but usually I just stick with the round one. I like the round one. Some of them have a bit of a frame around them, like a, you know, like here they have like a white frame around it. So whatever you like best. And I always think, like, no need to overthink this stuff, right? So this is you basically just pick one. You know, like it doesn't really, you know, unless you're a graphic designer, which you're not, because you wouldn't be here if you were, you know. So it's like, just pick one, right? And so yeah, so the elements here, the frames, the shapes, perhaps the grids might be useful, and what you use all the time will show up here. Yeah. So you basically just use, and so you really have a simple structure. You have the elements, the stuff that you can do, templates, photos, text, background, uploads, that's up here. And then every time you click on it, this section here shows what the options you have, you know. And then if you've got the filters here, you can make sure you pick the free stuff, and then anything you do, you just click on it to move it onto your image. And then every element you select, you have the menu with the options up here. So, and it's basically, obviously for text, you're going to have different options. You can play around with spacing. You can space out the width of the text. You can space the line, the height of it. So you can play around there. You can make it caps. You can make it bullet points, underline. Yeah, that's basically it. And again, you always have the transparency. You can make it a link. So you can copy the style. So it's basically the fonts here. I don't know. I think Parul asked whether you can upload other fonts. My take is there is loads of fonts available for free, you know, and unless you have a certain branding and insist it needs to be a specific font, my take would be you probably find one or a couple of fonts that you like and that you use all the time. So with all the fonts available, I doubt it'll be necessary to be able to import other fonts. You know, so I'm you know, I would say, well, you probably find something that you can use. And now sizing. the things that are different on the paid plan, and the reason
I came downstairs because I thought you must be nearly done.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
All nice and tidy, thank you. Well, no, I'm listening to it. Oh, hang on.
Oh, okay, Lucy, she wasn't talking to me. So yeah, and the difference
Sorry, I
between
didn't realise I was off mute.
That's all right. And so the difference between the free plan and the paid plan. So all of that, everything we've done so far, everything you can do on the paid plan. Now, one thing that you cannot do on the paid plan is to resize an image, right? If you say, well, I create this as a Facebook post, but now, well, actually, you know what? I'd quite like that to be a Facebook cover now. This is, for example, where it kind of takes everything you have and it gives you a new dimensions for your image. So if you're on the free plan, you're going to have to recreate that, right? But I'm thinking, well, actually, you know, it's not such a big deal. There's another option, like if you want to download, let me move this across, the image. So you have here the option to have a transparent background. It's also something that you cannot do on the free plan. It's also, well, you can kind of survive that. It's not such a big deal. You have, again, here you've got options. Usually if you use it for social media, you'd go for the JPEG, for the small size image. Yeah, animation, for example, to make this move a bit, that's on the paid plan. So other things that are on the paid plan, what's it, where is it? Let me have a look. Here there is, see, what they call brand kit, where you can basically have the colors here you use all the time, right? And have them available, and have them always available. That's available on the paid plan. So if you use stuff all the time, and if you do work on other people's websites or social media, then, you know, well, the paid plan is definitely worth considering, but definitely not necessary to start with. And there's really nothing that you can do. Pretty much anything you might want to do, you can do on the free plan. And say also the images, it's not like anything. If you have photos and you think, oh, but you know, you can always go to Unsplash and other websites to get free images, and and basically get your images from somewhere else for free and then upload them here. So if you can't find, you can use this, but you don't have to. You know, you can always upload your own that you find somewhere else. So yeah, there's the option to share. I've never used that. I always like, you can share with other people. You can share your design. If they use Canva, you can actually send them a link so they can keep editing this. And I think this is pretty much what Parul did when she sent the template. So the idea is that you can, I think here, shared with you. If you kind of like, this is the page for the image we're working on, and this is the home page here, and there is a section where it's shared with you, and things like that will show up here. So you can, you know, keep working, or you can share this with somebody else so that they can then keep editing it. So that's basically what Parul did.
Parul did, yeah.
But so yeah, that is pretty much what I think it's pretty much everything you need to know to get started, and just have a play, and you know, and drag and click on things and drag on things. There's nothing you can break. You know, if you don't like it, there's always a delete button, and you get rid of it, and you start from scratch. So there isn't really there isn't really much you can do. There's much that you can do wrong. If you do something you didn't like it, here there's an undo button, just like it is, like you see in Word and whatever. So yeah, that's pretty much pretty much, I think, everything you need to know. And if you look at the alternatives, Stencil and Snapper and you know, whatever, they work in a very similar way. The only difference is they don't have that many elements. You know, there's maybe, you know, like Snapper, for example, there's like, you have an image and you can choose to make it round, but that's all there is, right? It's simpler in a way because it doesn't have that much stuff, but at the end of the day, it's just more limiting. You know, you don't have to use every single element that's there, but you have them if you want them, and they don't have as many templates, and there's just, but at the end of the day, text, fonts, colors, transparency, it's always the same stuff. So that's pretty much what I can think of. If there's if there's anything you'd like to ask about, let me know.
Yeah, it's just time to play, I think, and have a go at it and see how it works out, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
all it is. So so it was good. Yeah, because when I came onto Paroles, I sort of looked at it and I could see it now, but I couldn't see where to go from there. So whatever I did, I was still stuck in the same place. So I thought, oh well.
Yeah. No, actually, let me show you something. You know what I did with, especially when you're not really sure, like, oh, I'm gonna. I think what I even did with Paroles, hang on a second. Let me just let that dog out. When you don't have the editable version, for example, I went into uploads and I uploaded and I don't know now I don't know whether I'm going to find it. But I really don't know whether I'm going to find Paroles template. Here it is. So basically, I just uploaded that as a photo. Hang on. Well, let's just get out of here. And I'm going to create a new one. A Facebook post. And I uploaded it as an image, right?
Yeah.
And I just click on it and it pops it on here, and I pop it in the corner, drag it down because she formatted it as a, you know. So, and basically what I did, and this bit was empty.
Yeah.
Right. So what I did is then I took a photo, resized it, and popped it on top of it.
Yeah.
Right. So just big enough to not
take over.
To not, so that's basically what I did, you know. And then the same thing here is I used a square box because I need to sort of get rid of the whatever down here. So put that on here. Make it white. Okay, there's gone. And then I put on some text.
That's it.
And then I move it, you know, the little circle here, you move it over there, you know, whatever the angle you want. And I just put that on top of it. That's what I did. You know, I didn't even edit the thing. I just popped my stuff on top of it. And then,
okay, yeah,
you know, like exactly what I did now. That's what I did to create mine.
Yeah.
Because I kind of wasn't, I don't know, I just downloaded it and it was like an image and I didn't really have the editable version. And so that's what I did. And I just popped my stuff on top of it.
Yeah, I was trying to edit it, you see.
Yeah. So that's you know, I mean, the plan was, and I think I asked Parul, and so it was an editable version, but I didn't sort of pick that up either. I just downloaded it and I had it as an image, and I just did that. I just used a square to cover the writing that was there, and pop my photo on top of it, and pop the text, you know, over the square I had. And that's what I did. And then you go publish to Facebook. I've never done that. I always kind of like to have control over where things go, but that's worth playing with as well. So I usually download it as especially when it goes on social media, download it as a JPEG, and off you go. And it picks up, and here you've got the name. You can give it a name. So this is the name that it picks up as a file name by default. And but you can change the name up here. So yeah, that's what I did.
Okay. Yeah.
Anchor, when you do that as a JPEG, how do you then put it on Facebook? Are you just treating it like it's a photo?
Yeah, it's an image. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Like when you actually put it on Facebook, it's just an image. It's just like any old photo.
Much simpler than trying to edit.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. So it's just like you download it, and it's just any old photo that you take with your camera, you know, from a file, or you know, the computer, all the computer knows, it's just another image.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So, and then sometimes if you want better quality, then you use PNG. The file size goes up quite considerably. So for social media, I always use the, you know, if you want to say, for example, if you create one and use it and design your business card, if it's something that you want to print, you use this one here, the PDF print. So that gives you a quality that you can send to a printer, and that comes out okay, and they don't tell you off. So it's an option that's worth knowing about. But at Notes, I've never done that. You can copy that if you want to play around with this. It can be a multi-page document, and if you have another, you say, well, let's make a copy of that, and now the thing has more than one page. So when you download it, it'll ask you here, do you want all pages? And it will download it as a zip file, as a compressed archive that has both files in it. Or you say, no, I only want to download page 1, or I only want to download page 2. So that's an extra option you have if your document has more than, you know, basically more than one page. You can also use down here, you've got zoom. You can, like, normally by default it goes to fit, but if you want to, if something is like, if you create, if you have an image that's really, or like this, if you use like a rectangle that you drag out a lot to create some weird angle, sometimes you might want to make it smaller. You can see what's going on. So you get a better overview. So that's another, you know, if you want to zoom in to have a lot of detail here, then you can do that too. But usually by default it goes to fit. So yeah, and you know, the font combinations are always interesting to use as an inspiration for stuff that we know looks good, especially if you're not a graphic designer and you don't have a lot of experience with that. Then yeah, but there's one thing that I saw that was really quite interesting: gradients. It's something that I saw in a tutorial the other day, where I don't know, was it this one? There was one where you could actually, this is the one where you can basically change the color, and it's like this purple one here. This one is from a color to transparent, which can be actually really quite useful. So this one is just like the size, and it goes from one color to the next. So you can obviously change those colors, but this one here can actually be quite interesting because you can drag this all across here, and so you can put your writing on the denser side, and have this slowly grade into transparent, which is quite cool. So you can use this and then, you know, pop your text on it, and it really stands out without covering all this stuff underneath. So that's an interesting, but that's in in the elements, in gradients. There's this one here, but you know, other than that, there's all stuff to play with. But yeah. Publish to. Yeah, so I've never really used those. So yeah, connect to Facebook. I haven't done that. Yeah, I always like to have more control over things like that. I don't want that to I just download it as a JPEG and then I upload it to Facebook or wherever else I want it, because then you can use the same thing on your website, you know, for a blog post, you can use the same image. And so I prefer to download it and then I determine where it goes after that.
It's a good idea.
It's worth playing with.
Yeah, good idea to have control, isn't it? And to know where it is as well, so it's easier to use a second time if you need it. Yeah. No, that was great. Just to play now. That'll be fun. I'm sure in the beginning, but there we are.
Yeah. And I guess it's easy to play with the Facebook post because it's more like transient. You know, you put it today, and if it looks crappy tomorrow, nobody will remember. You know. But especially for the and I'll show you the snapper, because I've got an account here. So now it's basically like, that's one of the alternatives, and so there we go. It's you can see here you've got the social media sizes, and so you can see it works in a very similar way, you know. So you've got that, and you can always have the custom size as well. Like that's the same here. If and everything you do is like it's saved automatically, and when you actually close it here in all your designs, it'll show up here, right? So not now, because this needs to be refreshed. So, but now our wonderful creations are actually here, right? So if you say create a design here, you've got the ones here, they're listed here, and you have custom dimensions. Centimeter pixels is usually what you'd want. So if you look in Snapper, it's exactly that same thing. You've got the different sizes here, or you have custom sizes. Now, the one thing that Snapper and Stencil also have, if you go and do a YouTube one, again, they've got templates, or we can, well, just pick one, doesn't really matter. It works like very, very, in a very much the same way. Okay. And what I wanted was to, where's the thing now? So you've got like same sort of thing. You select an element, and then over here, you've got all the font and the alignment and the spacing and the color. It's just like, it's very much the same thing. You know, you click on the image, and you've got here background, text, graphics, shapes. You know, it's very much the same thing. They don't have the frames for the photos. You know, and you can see shapes. There's only like a handful. Whereas if you go here in shapes, and there's just so much stuff that, you know, like there's just a lot. It's simpler in that sense, but it doesn't have choice. It doesn't have as many options either. You know, like graphics, here's items, you've got the photos, uploads. It's always the same. It's exactly the same stuff. You know, icons, there's just not that much stuff there. Photos, you know, same thing. Here there is no like there isn't an option to, you know, some are free and some they're all available, but then you can only download 10 images a month, which is a real pain in the butt if you use it, right? So it's all like headings, you know, you don't have the templates for the fonts that we've seen in the other one. effects, blur, blah, that's like, you've got that in the other one as well. Backgrounds, yeah, it's all very, very similar. You've got the layers where you can bring an element to the forefront or to the background. So that's all the same. That's all the same as well. Let's have a look at saved graphics, because it was something I want to show you. That here, this is the bit that that these guys have. You know how you can see here the tablet save, desktop areas where you can actually here, you can turn this off. So this is what it looks like, but you can turn these save zones on. So you can see, you can design the thing in a way that it actually looks reasonable on all different devices. And YouTube channel is extreme because it needs to look okay from a mobile phone, tiny mobile phone, to all the way to a large screen TV and anything in between. So this is probably the most tricky image that you can design. So I use Snapper or Stencil for that, you know, and then if I ever have, like the few times I have to do a YouTube channel thing, I'll use this because this is worth gold to prevent you from stuffing around and it looks horrible on all different devices. It looks good on one, it looks like crap on everything else. So these safe zones are really, really helpful. And Stencil has those as well for the profiles where you say, okay, here's where your photo goes, and this is what you can see on mobile, and this is what you can see on tablet, and that's really quite helpful. Now, sometimes what I do is I kind of position stuff here, and then I use that as a sort of a template on Canva, for example, you know, where I can then use all the other stuff. But you can see that the concept is actually very similar. You know, you click on the image, you click on any element, and it opens up the options available for that element. You've got the same handles here. You've got the you know, for to rotate. It's all really quite similar. You know, you've got for the images, you can flip, rotate, transparency. It's all the same stuff really. And so if you basically, if you know one, if you know one, then you can use the other ones as well.
Yeah.
Yes, Stencil I just signed up for actually yesterday to after this you know, this friend of mine said, oh, you know, I much prefer Stencil, and I'm like, and I kind of started playing around with it, and I kind of like, oh, and here you can see so many images left this month, and that's the same like with the other one. So here again, you see this is for Facebook. I think the size is for here for a Facebook cover. You know, again, here you can use the different sizes, but and here again, you have the desktop only, mobile only. You can see what you know, which parts of the screen are available on which device. Now, yeah, so here you don't have these elements where you can, you know, put something a square underneath. You can use this here as the background for the text. So again, if you click on it, you see the options come up here: move forward, move backward, you know, transparency. It's you know, font. It's all the same stuff, really.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like looks a little bit in a different space. Yeah, I found the way you can control the background and padding and that all a bit limiting. So I immediately thought, oh, I don't like it. But yeah, so it's the same thing here. You've got photos, you've got icons, you've got templates that you can work off, uploads. It's all the same stuff really. And here you've got like the screen, and then on the side here you've got the little icons where you can say, okay, add text, add a new image, toggle the safe area. So you've got these safe, and the safe areas, they're really, you know, it's really, if you can take them off. But if you go and say, for example, let me try the link. So here you can resize it, you know, and if you go and see, you see the safe zones, and they say, well, here goes the profile photo on desktop. Here's where the profile photo goes on mobile. So you know any text that gets covered by the image, which is really quite helpful. So you know what that, I mean, that's really where I'm thinking, ooh, this is really quite helpful because it saves you a lot of trouble. But so yeah, here you've got text and images you can basically add from here. So, but at the end of the day, it's all very similar. And and it's a hell of a lot easier than stuffing around with Photoshop, where you have so many options that that you don't really need for that kind of stuff. And so the learning curve is a lot flatter. There's really not that much. So you basically play around with it for an hour and you know.
No, it's good. It's good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've only been able to dip in and out of bits of it, but I look forward to the recording.
Yeah, I'd say it's all there. So yeah, it's basically, you know, it's the concept's always the same. You know, you've got like, this is all the things. Every time you click on it, it'll open up all the options. If you click on an element on the actual image, you can see the options. And so yeah, and the templates are usually a good starting point. And I'm always like, well, if you don't want to stuff around, I do that a lot. Like, oh, post. Oh, I quite like that one. Change the photo, out it goes, right? And I don't, like, it's not my job to mess around with this stuff all day. You know, I want, the point of it is to have it catch people's attention, right? To have something there that makes people stop scrolling. That's the whole purpose of it. And I don't care if it's really similar to a template that's already out there. So, you know, it's not a graphic design contest. The idea is to basically make sure people get to see the stuff. So.
Anka, thank you so much. It's Jace here on the iPad.
Oh, hello. On the
Anka,
iPad.
if I want to develop a vision board, if I want to develop a vision board, this would be okay with it because I struggled with it before.
So, hey, Morak, I didn't realize Galaxy Tab was you. So what would you have on the vision board?
I wanted to put my own pictures.
Yes.
So how would I get pictures to put on the vision board? Can I download them?
Yes, I mean, you can, hang on, let me just go back to Canva. So if you create a new design, so what format would the vision board have? What size? What?
You know, say I wanted, you know, less than an A4, maybe an A4 sheet.
So you could even, well, I don't know, doesn't really matter. Let's just say, okay, this is like, you know, kind of letterhead, whatever. So now the templates that come up here, but say what, now in this case, you'd want to have all different photos as if they're like kind of pinned onto it.
That's right. That's right. I'd like a nice background and then the photos to pin, you know, to pinned on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we go and have a look at backgrounds. So you can either use one of, you probably wouldn't want one that really distracts from the things that are on there. Like,
like a pastel shade. Ah, that's nice. That's lovely.
Okay. So we use that one. And so then what I would do is I would go to the frames, because they're kind of like picture frames, basically. They're like shapes for images, right?
Okay.
So I would look for one here, kind of like even this one here, for example, right?
Okay.
So where sort of, and I can, you know, move it around and then I duplicate it and I can put lots of pictures here and I can make them smaller and bigger and have, and I just pop another one here and we make this a little bit bigger.
Okay.
And then we can pop around one on there while we're at it. And we move that to the back. And then we use this one here. It has a, you know, I'm just like making this up here so you can see.
Yeah, you're doing really well. I'm intrigued.
Right? So you just pop these different frames on here, or you can make it all the same, or whatever grabs your fancy, really.
Yeah.
and you can, and with the little handles here, you can resize them, and you can move them around, you can resize them, you can rotate them. And so this is how you create the look of it. And then in uploads, you go and say, well, actually, I'm going to go and upload my photos. So, and then you just drag the photo onto that frame.
Yes.
And
you're brilliant.
and then you just put all these photos in here.
Yeah.
Pop my mom in there. Okay, Dad's landed there. So now this is like, and then you can still start and shuffle around with this and put more on it, or different ones on it. There you go. And here's I kind of like the frame, but I don't like the gray of it. So I'll make it yellow. So this is how you could use that. And you could move this around and say, let's give this a title. And we make that bigger. And we move it up the top here. And we don't want it blue either. That looks too serious. We want a different color. Whatever. You get the gist of it. And we say, well, we want a font that is a little bit more, I don't know. This is basically what you can do. I think she dropped out now. She might come back with my crazy vision board. Well, let's wait for a second to see whether she comes back. And if not, but yeah, so I can't tell now whether that is what she has in mind, but I got the sense that it was pretty much what she was thinking of. Mm-hmm. So yeah, let's just wait for a second to see whether she'll come back.
That was a super quick vision board, Anka.
I know. There you are.
I didn't realize when I first joined, I didn't realize that my tablet didn't come up with my name. And then it didn't give me the option. It didn't give me the option to select name. It just, it was like, oh, good. I've been sitting, I've been hiding out in the background, and I suddenly realized nobody knew who I was.
I know, that's funny, isn't it? So yeah, here's the vision. Here's my crazy vision board.
Thank you. That's lovely. Now I'll know how to go ahead with it. That's great. Thanks a lot, Anka.
Well, have fun with it, and
yes.
and if you get stuck somewhere, just let me know. And
okay.
But yeah, so you're gonna have this recording, so you can have a look again to see how how I did that. But
sorry about that. I got cut off earlier because my internet's playing up. So sorry.
No worries. No worries. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much. It's been very good. Thank you.
So I hope it was helpful. If there's any questions, whatever, you know where to find me. And
yeah, you might have a question or two.
Yeah, and I think the questions will come up when you try and do something.
Yeah, when you get
so
stuck.
That's really where when you'll know where you kind of like, oh, don't remember where. But that's the thing, is like there's like on Canva on the left, you've got all the different things you can do. If you click on it, the options show up here, and any element if you click on anything, it goes onto your image, and when you click any elements at the top, you'll see all the options. So you don't even have to remember you don't have to remember the options, because they'll always be depending on what you select. That's what you're going to see. So it's really kind of intuitive that way, because you don't have to really remember anything.
Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate
pleasure.
What you do.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Anka. I'd kind of picked up some of the basics for myself, but things like the frames, I hadn't figured out what the frames did. I just saw these things with like blue sky and clouds in it and thought, I don't want them on my thing, not realizing I could actually put something in them.
Yeah, no, the frames are great. I love the frames because it really saves you from I mean, I don't use these like really fancy ones, but the round one, you don't have to mess around and now create a round image. And now, you know, like it's just so much easier to also
as soon as I
change
saw
your
what
mind.
you did, as soon as I saw what you did with them, I was like, oh, right, that's useful.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Great. Thank you.
So yeah.
Thank you, Anka.
I'll put the recording the presentation as a PDF as well. So you've got the links to the Snapper and the thing and the other article with the other alternatives if you want to try out other things. But you know, I kind of geek around with things like that, and I always keep like Canva is like way better than anything else, especially on the free plan. So yeah, so definitely. Alrighty.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
Have a lovely day. Bye.
Thank you too. Bye bye now.